Okay, here we go. Alright, so I got about 5 pounds worth of ITLA wall panels here. Everything came in. Thanks to Nick, he shipped it quickly. Actually, a little bit quicker than I was expecting, but that's okay. I got plenty of painting and cutting and stuff to do, so all the stuff's here. I'm just kind of getting my bearings on this now, figuring out what I need to do, how it goes together, how I'm going to paint it, what I'm going to paint it, how to do the additional 5th floor, although for me I think it's actually going to be an additional 2 floors. You see I have the sheet here from the website, kind of had a cut when you're adding other floors. I got my plans sitting up there, got my wall layout so I can visualize it. I thought I wouldn't need that, but I forgot, so I said I better put it up there because I don't remember what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to start playing with this a little bit, figuring out, like I said, what I have to cut. I want to get everything cut that's got to be cut and glued, and then I take everything out and paint it. And that's going to take probably some iterations of painting, maybe sealing, painting, sealing, back and forth, you know, all kind of stuff. So, alright. But it's here, and now it's time to eat the elephant, so. Okay. Have some updates as we make some progress here. Okay, so I got my walls all cut up for the 5-story portion of the factory, and I figured I'd show this just in case anyone's interested. Those of you that have, you know, already worked with these kits, you know it, so not a big deal. But for those that may be curious or thinking about using it and wondering how to make additional stories, I'll kind of show you what I'm doing. I'm not saying it's right, but it's what I'm doing. So, for my factory, I go up here, and I'm going to be handheld here, guys. I'm at the workshop, but I'm not going to drag the tripod over here and stuff. Sorry about that. Just take it or leave it. So there's the building, and the top row and the first on the left are the, that's not going to be in focus, are the 5 stories. And I wanted to put the top 2, the 4th and 5th, with the 2 smaller windows, because I'm saying that's the engineering drafting offices above the manufacturing area below. Okay, just for something, you know, a little bit different. That's what I wanted to try to do. Okay, so what I started with, it just has a note you can see over here. That's from their website. If all you're going to do is add additional stories, you have to cut it at that top line where, I don't know if I can point with my fat finger, and you have to cut it right there. Now that's a little bit challenging. This is a 1/8 inch MDF. It's pretty robust material. Now I had to do that as well, and I cut that with an X-Acto knife. But anyway, it works. You just got to take your time and you will get it cut. But I'm going to show you another saw I remembered I bought that I'm glad I did because it really helped. Alright, so here's what I'm starting with. I hope this works and you guys can see this okay. And you're not seasick. So I'm starting with the 4051, which is basically, some of the numbers are just a matter of what you get in terms of bricks or windows. But I got the solid bricks. And then, in order to do what I'm doing to get the 4th and 5th stories, again, you wouldn't have to do this if all you're going to do is add stories above the normal stock wall panel. Let me try it again. Okay, so what I did, I took a 4051, and I'm cutting off the 4th story. All right, so that comes off. And actually, that's not going to be used, although I do need to get that top portion of the wall. Okay, so now I have my 3 stories that I want. All right. So now what I do is I take a 4058 stock panel, and this has got the double windows, and I cut it right here. Okay, so that gives me the top portion that then goes over here, and I probably won't line it up right because I'm trying to look through the viewfinder and not be too shaky and okay, So that's the kind of wall that I want. This will be brick, brick, brick. You know, the brick on the bottom and then the double windows. Okay. So that works for part of it. Then, on the 4058, you still have these two you can use. So then what I do is I cut this off. Okay, so you cut that bottom piece off. That's going to be scrap, or I can use it as bracing, you know, filler across the back. So I'm not going to get rid of it. So then I have this. Okay, so then on another 4051 panel, you cut it. You take this, you put that in there, and then on the top of this one, that's where you cut that part off. And then that is going to go there. So there I have my 5-story building with the 4th and 5th replaced with the double windows. And that's just what I want to do. I think that's right. Well, it sure looks okay. When I first did it, I wasn't lining things up right, and I thought I did cut the walls wrong because it's got the cutouts for joining the walls. Anyway, I was like, oh, I did it wrong. No, I'm okay. So that's it. So that's how I'm going to make up these. Now, the one thing that I found, because again, you're doing the cuts on the, I won't reassemble it, but on the original 4058s, you're making the cuts, and then you're cutting the top story off of the 4051s. Here's what I remembered that I purchased that made this much, much easier. I really recommend. I don't normally tell people what to do, but if you're going to do this, you know, to any number of sheets, I really recommend this. This is a saw that I purchased at umm-usa.com. I'll put the link down below in the description. After you smash that like button. This is great. This is a pretty unique saw. It's got a real thin, almost like a, you know, like a razor saw, but it, oops, sorry, I'm trying to be steady, but it's a nice thin, real fine blade, and this worked exceptionally well for making the smaller cuts, you know, for making the cuts when you had to cut apart the panels, because what I could do, this is how I cut it, but imagine this is, and what I did, let me just show you one more thing, one more recommendation from the Bennett workshop. Use something. Ugh. I use this only because you're like, what the hell is that? This actually, excuse me, is a piece of slate from a quarry in Vermont that is finely machined to like a 005 tolerance for use inside of a Con Edison submersible grounding reactor. Oh my gosh, look at myself. Memories. Okay, that was a project that I did when I was working in the shop. Anyway, these are out of tolerance, so I have 2 of them, but they're still flat. I mean, you know, if they're, you know, 005 and these are actually 007, it's like, oh, the humanity. But what I'm trying to get to, besides babbling, is when you got these together, I like this because I can bring it right to the edge. I can bring the sheet into the edge, and then when I'm cutting, I can bring this down nice and flat. And this did a great job. What I would do, because there are lines there, I scored it like 3 times with a normal number 11 X-Acto blade, and this fits right into it. And then I could hold it, come in here, and come nice and flat. Because if I was cutting on this, it's still kind of hard to get it nice and flat. I just did that. So if you elevate it a little bit, a 1/4 inch or so, it just makes it nice. And this worked great. I'm so glad I had this. Now, yes, you can cut these with an X-Acto number 11. Because I had to do that, obviously, for cutting this to get that top part. Now, I did try it once with the saw. Again, very carefully scoring the line a couple times and using the saw. But you see, the blade isn't, I mean, it worked, but to be honest, it took just as much time as just carefully taking your time, coming back with a number 11. Then I'm going to turn it, you know, cut it this, and I got it. Now, is everything perfect? and I'm not the world's most professional builder. They're off a little bit. They are. It's just the way I am. But that's okay. I think once you get it together, and there are pilasters and stuff that go in here, I don't think it's going to look that bad. And one of the things I'm doing to kind of cheat, let me come back up here and just, so 5 stories, 5 stories, 5 stories, and then these are a partial 5-story. What I'm going to do is, since the aisle's this way, so for this wall, for wall B and wall D1, I'm going to use those, the ones that come right out of the sheet. For wall A and wall C, I'll use, oops, sorry, back and forth, slow down there, rugged. I'll use these because they'll be a little less hard to see, because you'll be kind of at an angle to them. So I figured, alright, I'll cheat a little bit. I'll put the ones that may not look quite as good, or they won't be quite as visible. Okay. So again, so that's kind of what I'm doing. I have all the walls cut, although I am short. I'm short 2 wall panels. So I had to go back to Nick and ask him what the cost would be for 2 more of the 405 ones. I added everything up. It's not his fault, it's my fault. Totally my fault. Unlike other people, I take responsibility for my actions, and it was my fault. I need 42, I only have 40. Because of all the 405 8s that I ordered are being cut for the additional 2 floors. So I need 2 more. Alright. Whatever, we'll get to it. I'm sure he can send them out to me, and I'll get them in enough time to catch up. So that's what I'm doing. So again, if you take your time, think about what you want to do, cut your pieces carefully, and now what I'm going to do is I'll glue them all together to make the actual walls, and then these will be painted. I have a concrete paint I'll try for these. It's one of the Rust-Oleum, like an eggshell or clam white or something like that. I'll try it. I think it'll look fine, because then all these got to be painted, and then all the brick inserts got to be painted, weathered up. I think then I know that then you put the bricks in and the windows in and all that kind of fun stuff. So that is that. And again, I will put the link for that. This is a great little saw. Really, really, really recommend that. Makes things a lot easier for doing these cuts. Again, you can do it with an X-Acto blade. It's not the end of the world. It's just going to be kind of annoying. And then one other thing I did, again, just to show you, I'm making a mess here. Let me get my high-tech 005 tolerance slate out of the way. Oh, we could only buy those at a certain time of year because they flooded the quarry. So we had to make sure we were making our reactors at the right time of year. Now here's the one that I'm going to do. It's kind of hard to see, but what I want to do, just for the fun of it, again, on this wall segment here, I have a door. It's going to have stairs that come down to the viaduct that's in front of it. So this is how that wall is going to look. And again, very similar. You have the base, which is the 405 one. Hold on, sorry. I'm trying to adjust the f-stop so it's a little bit more visible. Again, same thing, the base, the top. And again, this is the side wall, so I'm using the bottom piece out of the 405 8. And then, what Nick did for me, he included this, just this panel, which you have to cut these out, which is just the whatever they are, the dividers for the windows and the brick. So on this one, that's just cut out. So you get, and this has a nice little drop piece I can use for a base somewhere. Alright, so you have that. I'll take this. I'll get glued in back there. And I have the door and the window, so that'll get me the door, the man door on that side, and then steps will come down to the viaduct, to the sidewalk. I just thought that would look, something fun. Didn't have to do that, but you know me, I like to make my life miserable. No. I think it'll look kind of cool. Alright, so that's the same thing you can do. Again, it's just a matter of cutting the sheets and getting the right inserts, but Nick was great to work with. So if you want to do things like that, he'll be, I think, more than happy to to help you out. Okay, so that's how we're going to assemble the walls. So now let's get, this is, again, what I showed you was wall A. I have wall B, wall C, wall D1, which is the portion on the back. Missing 2 sheets, but everything else is cut for it. So I need those 2 4051 panels to get that done. But I'll start assembling these, get them all glued up, get them painted, get the inserts painted, get the window frames either painted or Sharpie markered up. He's got a good tip on the website how to do the window frames, and then get these together. I also have everything else kind of stacked, just FYI. Let me move my time-saving saw. This is the high bay, and that's the wall D2, the big wall on the back. So these are no cuts to these. These are just going to be as they are. So I could actually start, getting these painted and getting the inserts painted and whatnot. These are going to be much simpler. Although the 2 roll-up door panels I have to modify for the high bay. But that's okay. That's just kind of cutting and framing out the door and everything. That shouldn't be a big deal. So again, so these are ready to go. So I got everything pretty much where I'm ready to go. Make these, glue them, start painting. And then start assembling this monsters. All right. A little bit of a babble fest, but again, just some information on how I'm doing things. And if you're curious how to add stories to the ITLA wall panels. All right, more to come, guys. Alrighty, got all those walls for the 5-story portion glued together. Went really easy, actually. Probably took only about half an hour. But then everything was cut and kind of ready to go. The only issue that I found on wall C, for some reason, and what I did to assemble it is I used a straight edge, lined up with the white line to help me, give me some visual indication on the mat, and then I would take the pieces and put them right against that, because that gave me a real good gauge. Actually, it helped. I could see, if there was any gaps or anything that I knew they weren't square, or at least as square as I'm going to get them. Because I think if these are off, like if these cant a little bit, the issue will multiply itself when you're trying to glue walls together. So I want these to be as straight as I can get them. I am certain I'll be doing some fiddling around with some sanding to get them together, but that's what I did. And then on these 3, which is the wall C, I think I had this portion here was a little bit long, because when I set it in, it was kind of canting this way a little bit. And or if I had it nice and flush, there was a gap over here. So I just had to come in and touch it up a little bit on all 3 of these pieces. I don't know what I did. Maybe I was out of my mind when I cut those. I don't know. I don't know, but not a big deal. Now again, you got to be careful, I think, because if you sand too much and you make the height of these off radically, again, you're going to line up these with these. And again, you might be doing some sanding. Now, I'm sure I will, like I said, to line them up. So you don't want to take off too much. So it'll be interesting to see how these all fit together when I'm done. But there it is. So I got these 4 wall A, wall B, wall C, wall D1, missing 2 of his friends. But I actually heard back from Nick. He's going to send them to me. So thank you very much. Talk about good customer service. This guy's great. I wish I would have found his stuff earlier. I would have used it for a lot of other industrial areas in the layout, but I'm running out of places I can build and put his products. Alright, so those 2 will be coming, and I'll get those done. And now I use canopy glue. He recommends Weld Bond, which I have. I like canopy glue. It works really well for me in my experience. I used it for the South River kit, for both laser modeling 3 kits, for pretty much everything. Monster Model Works kits, and they're all wood. So we'll see how it works. It seems pretty good. I know what these set up. I'm going to be handling them, so I don't want to be whipping them around right now, because the only glue is across the joints. I was going to flip them, then add like a little piece across the back. I was like, wait a minute. The instructions seem to indicate when you're assembling the panels and the windows, you may be flipping these back and forth, and you probably want them flat to your work surface when you're doing that. Well, if I put something on here, it'll make it out of cattywampus. So I'm going to hold off on that. And hopefully just be able to use the canopy glue and hold it straight. Now when I paint it, the paint will add some structural integrity. Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. Just seeing if you're awake and paying attention. So I think it'll be okay. Because, again, these have been glued for a while. Let's see what happens. So, yeah. So I can pick it up fairly well. And then turn it over when you're putting the various panels in and whatnot. Carefully. Because I was going to put like a little bit of a piece across here at the joints. And then across, not on this one because they're full sheets, but just across there. But that's going to make it teeter a little bit. So I don't think I want to do that. I look pretty straight. Well, not looking too bad. Alright, so let those set up for a little bit. And now get ready to do some of the painting. So alright, hey, we're moving on here. Moving on. Let's get going here. Ooh, okay, not sure what happened there. My camera all of a sudden just kind of wigged out on me and said the memory card wasn't in, but it is in. Anyway, okay, we'll see what happens here. I don't know. Maybe it's time for a new memory card. That's the one dock. That's done. Needs to be weathered up and everything like that, but I was just playing around when you get that built. So we're getting there. So like I said, the next step is now to get the complete 5-story everything done. I do have to, I was going through, you get all this stuff out, right? You get it all out, and it's unavoidable. You start tearing stuff apart, and you get stuff everywhere. You take it outside to paint, and it took me about a week. Not a week total, but, of evenings and whatnot, and waiting for things to dry and coming back to get all this painted. And then I start to go building all these, and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have enough brick inserts. What the hell, Nick? Well, no, I had to go back out in the other room, and I found a whole other tray, cardboard pallet of painted up. So I have enough. It's a lot of material on a job like this. So anyway, I don't know why I had to tell you that, but I just did. All right, more to follow. All right, to show a real short segment here on some of the cool little accessories you can get with the wall system. What I have here in the center here, the dock, is the 4061 loading dock insert. And then I have two built of the three I have, of the 4062 entryway. And they're pretty cool. They add a nice little detail, I think. I'm not going to add all the boxes inside this one. I am probably going to put a light on the outside of it. And these build up really nice per the instructions. The only thing I will say is the stair assembly is a little fiddly. You just got to take your time. But the real nice thing about it is everything fits. I've built some other more expensive Craftsman kits where you get into the small, thin details like this. That real thin, I don't know if it's like the aircraft plywood or whatever. But there's no nibs. The slots for the stairs were all right. So you just take your time and everything goes together. I use super glue for it. Went together fine. Then I went ahead and weathered it up a little bit, and here's a version of it. It's not together yet. That's just kind of what it's going to look like. I just wanted to show it. It's got the door in the back of that one there. I think it'd be cool if you could have that little fan spinning. Wouldn't that be a cool little detail? I am not going to do that, but so then these build up as little modules. And then this whole thing is assembled, so I can get these all assembled, set them aside. This goes inside the wall panel itself. That's kind of the little box that you get. And then even right now, none of this is assembled right now. I'm just waiting I just finished doing some chalking, some pigments to weather things up. So those are the pieces you get. So nice little details, and the steps look good. Unfortunately, they're rather hard to see. I mean, I shouldn't say that's not a knock on ITLA. It's such a nice detail, but unless it's really in the front, it's going to be hard to see, which is kind of a shame because they're really very well done. So I did that, and then over on this one, let me see if I can pick it up just to show you what I did. So again, that's the front part. That's been weathered up a little bit. And on this one, I went ahead and left the door ajar slightly and added a sign. It just needed some kind of sign. So I'm going to use this one where they go into the oil storage area inside the building from the tank farm. So I put a highly flammable. And again, you're not going to be able to read that. Even where this one's going to be a little bit closer to the front. So it's going to be much more visible than this one, which is going to be way in the back. But I feel like adding a sign. So just a nice little additional detail you can get. You know, very, very well done. So just wanted to show that. I was working on this one. I was waiting for the new walls to dry. So they're cut, assembled. Time to paint them and get those last two built, and then start assembling the whole walls. So, all right, here we go. Let's start having some real fun now. All right, I started a segment on this, so I'll do one more just to finalize this. So here are the what I'm going to be using. Again, this is the one with the interior entry, which I kind of covered a little bit before. You can see in there I added a little barrel back there, just for some variety. So that's what the thing looks like all together. Makes a nice little box. And then this front part just glues right into the front wall panel. What I did for lighting, I did use the top piece that comes. Sorry, I'm trying to one-hand this here. That comes with it, but I use a different LED. They say it's usable with a just plug LED. Well, I don't use just plug stuff. I use just LEDs. But what I had here is, it's not going to focus, but it's a little white LED. Bought it on eBay, I think from Eve Model. Is that what it says on the back there? Yeah. And they come together in a bunch of like 12, and you can break them apart. 12 volt DC. Got a little resistor there on it, so I put that right in there. Right in the hole. There's a little square opening. Can you say square hole? I guess you can. There's a square hole on the top of that, and then that LED fits right in there. And you can see I put some green tape on it. Put a little bit of canopy glue around to make sure everything stays nice and secure. Marked my positive lead, and away we go. So that's the two of these. I have two the same. And then for the loading dock, what I decided to do, you can see I added pallets of boxes. These are from Artitech. I really recommend you take a look at some of the Artitech details if you're so inclined. Yeah, they're really, really nice. Now for this, the side walls, alright, I can see I've got, hold on a second here. I apologize for the jumpiness here. I'm trying to do this handheld so I can use all my appendages to show this. So this has got, the side walls are a little bit too short for the opening. So when I tried to put this roof on, ceiling, roof, which all it is task board. Again, cut open, a square opening for the LED. So I said, alright, so I just jumped it up by two pieces of 12 by 12 scale lumber from Northeast Scale. I just pretty much reached into my box and grabbed it, said how high do I need it to make it so that the roof doesn't stick out the opening, and away you go. So again, that's a little box for that. LED, marked my positive. So that's ready to go inside. I like that. That's very nice. Oh, I did add, I don't know if it's going to show. I can tilt this back. No, maybe not. See, there's a little bumper board on the outside there for people like Cletus who tend to come in and they tend to bang things up quite a bit. So I just added I think it's actually a railroad tie I had. It's just laying on my workbench here. That's just sitting there. I did add some nut bolt washer details there. They're actually way too big, I'm sure, but I just wanted it to be, the way this is going to sit on the layout in the building will be like that, and you'll be seeing it, like this, and you can't get real close. So I said, alright, I'll just make them a little bit bigger than they should be. I know they're too big. I don't even know if it'll actually focus on them all that well, but that's what I did. Alright, so those three actually, the 2 entranceways and the dock are done. Nice detail. I got to commend Nick on that. They're pretty cool. So those are now to be set aside until I am ready to add those to the main buildings. Alright, I'm going to try to show this. I don't know how well it'll show up. But one of the things I decided to do, most of these factories, the windows are fairly dirty, and it's not something that the guys are out there cleaning all the time. And I wanted to simulate that. So what I did, this panel is going to be the one that's in the far, far, far corner. So I wanted to practice on one that's, if I messed up, it wouldn't be really visible. So what I did on the back side, I took them out to the garage. On the top one, I have some, what's Tamiya, they call it smoke. I think it's supposed to be something like that to kind of shade up windows. So I said, okay, I will try that. And on the bottom one, I tried just a real light spray from the back side here. This is the side I sprayed from, with the Vallejo hobby spray, the Panzer German Field Gray. German Field Gray. That's a very, very useful color I'm finding. Alright, so that, I'm not sure how well that shows up. I kind of like the German Field Gray. It just kind of looks a little dirtier. It goes on a little bit nicer. And I don't know how well that'll show. The smoke one was a little bit, I don't know, it kind of ran a little bit. Now, of course, that could be just my skill, because I don't have much skill. So, that one I said, you know what, I'm just going to go with what I know. And it looks good. And I don't know that you can really, if I vary the light, because I didn't want it to be totally covered, just kind of dirty, because you still want light to come through from the inside. Again, I don't know how well that does or doesn't show, but that's what I did. And that's the last thing I did. Did it all last night, took all the panels back out in the garage, turned them all over and sprayed them again with a little bit of the German Field Gray on a little bit more on the factory type windows and a little bit less on the offices. But I did actually do the offices as well. So, okay, let me do one more thing and wrap this up here. Alright, real brief summary of what I did just to show it, but actually the instructions are very good. I didn't really do anything earth-shattering, or there's really no brilliant tidbits I came up with. I mean, the way I went through it, again, everything was painted first, which is nice because it's all separate. What I kind of settled on for painting these was pretty much following the instructions, or I think a recommendation on the website. Took them out, I sprayed them, I kind of dusted them, they call it, with some flat black. Although one said I forgot, it didn't really matter. Then I used this like kind of a zinc chromate primer. I think one of the Rust-Oleum types, Krylon. There's tons of it, doesn't matter, just choose what you like. And then what I found worked best for me, after some trial and error, I weathered them with my Vallejo acrylic washes, this type of stuff here. This is the stuff that I like. I use blue-gray. You got some of the real gnarly, kind of grayish blue type stuff. You might see it highlighted a little bit. And another color I really liked, which might be surprising, is this. This is, what is it called? Desert Dust. And it gets real kind of gunky at the bottom, and it's a really neat color. I like it. I use dark gray as well, and just kind of played with it. I didn't really worry about it too much. I sealed that, and then I came back with a pigment. I actually wound up using Ammo of Meg Light Dust. I tried Europe Earth. I didn't really like the color. It would have been fine, but I just tried this light one. And that is what I used for the mortar. Now, I did try some other, I tried a wash of Vallejo Chalk White. I tried some of the, what's it, Roberts brick mortar. And the problem is, it was just so intense. It just brought the mortar lines out way too much, in my opinion. And they're kind of fine. And again, those other things tend to stain the front of the bricks a little bit. So what I went with, and what seemed to work okay, and I don't know how well it shows in my not too good lighting system. Anyway, it looks good enough for me, to me, was, I put the powder in. I had to really kind of get it in there, brushed it off, and then sealed it with a matte varnish spray. just a typical, it's a Krylon, matte finish. That's all I used. And that was it. So that's how I did those. These are painted again, it's just there's tons of different colors. I think it's a almond white or something like that. I think so. Again, it doesn't matter, guys. Pick the color that you like. Don't do what I did just because I did it. But I sprayed it, and it's done. And then I had it set up on the bench like this. Once it was all dry, of course, I just kind of pushed the windows in, flushed them up with the back. Again, per the instructions. Every now and then, one of the corners may have been cleaned out a little bit so it would flush with the back. And they always didn't sit perfectly, but that's okay. And then, when the windows were in, I used canopy glue. I like it. I'm just used to it, so it worked fine. I didn't use that. I had a little tip on it. And then I just came in and I dotted each, like down the side, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, with a little bit of dot. Took the acetate, put it on, let it seal for a little bit, and then we'll do this window. This one's cut out for the movable pane, but same concept. And then I would kind of, when they were sitting there with just that, I would flip them back over. Maybe I had to hold them a little bit, because they do, wave a little bit. They don't always sit perfectly flush. And then I would just kind of, hold it for a little bit. Then, when it was set up, and this stuff tacks up relatively quickly, so you're not waiting long. And then on the edges of the acetate, I came back again with the canopy glue and just put a dot around it to hold it. And it seals up. Did I get glue oozing out? Yes, I did. I'm just not that neat and clean, but again, once you get it done and painted and weathered, and then like I mentioned, I did the field gray spray on the back, you're not going to notice it. And plus, it's a factory. But anyway, I tend to be messy with windows, but it's never seemed to be a huge issue. So, and then you just do that again and 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 again for 42 panels. The hardest part, not the hardest part, the longest part is doing the windows, because you got to set it in, flip it, putting these in is easy. You just like this, boom, 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 push them in, flush them up, smear a little bit of glue. I smeared it with my fingers. On the ones where I had cut and added, I had some additional glue in the back and kind of on the back of the joint here and here, where I did those. And these are pretty rock solid, so that's how I did it. Again, nothing earth-shattering, pretty much follow the instructions, which are very good. I did notice some of the ones where I had cut and I was joining sections, I had to sand this piece to make it fit. That's because, think about it. Anytime you cut something like that, you got at least, at a minimum, the width of the saw blade. And I'm not that good because my cuts tend to be like this. So I had to do some sanding. So this dimension was off a little bit. Not a lot, but enough that this piece is only on those ones where I had added the top 2 stories. Here, I'll just show you one. Here it is. So when I had cut and added this piece in, this one had to be sanded a little bit. Could this be me? But it worked fine. Again, same concept. Whether it's a little window, a big window, you just push it in, flip it over, hold it down a little bit, go back, touch up the edges of the acetate, get all these in, and then they're good to go. So, and these are nice and solid. Like I said, it's 1/8 inch MDF, so these are pretty sturdy. Some of them do a little bit of a bow to it, but I think I'll correct that when I get it assembled. So, all right, just wanted to kind of show real briefly. Again, nothing earth-shattering. It's a well-designed system. I pretty much follow the instructions. Most of the time, like all things, right? Most of the time was spent painting, prepping, mortaring, getting the windows done, doing some weathering. For the windows, I just sprayed them with one of the camouflage colors that I kind of liked, a real dark, almost a black-green color. It's a cool color. Sprayed them all up. And there's a lot of freaking windows on this thing, so it takes a while. Let them dry, dabbed them. I kind of did some dry brushing with a sponge, with some chalk white and a tan color. It's kind of subtle. It probably doesn't even show up in the photograph, in the video. Again, because my camera and the lighting isn't all that great, but it looks fine. Alright, so that's just kind of a review of the process I used to get the wall panels ready to go. Alright, going to wrap this this part of the video, this part of the build up. I don't know how long this video will be, probably way too long, but here everything's ready to go. So we have wall A, wall B, wall C, wall D1, the 5-story portion, wall D2, the rest of it all in the back, all there. This is the high bay, all the high bay panels. That's actually the front, the high bay doors, where I did a little bit of work on the doors, and I can't lay them down because they're actually together. I actually have the pilasters in and the doors in there on that side. I might dress up this side a little bit, and I'm going to have a light coming out, so I have to figure out how I'm going to get that hole drilled now that I stupidly added the stuff in the back of it. So that was a mistake, but anyway, I'll figure it out. It should be easy enough to get through. So now the question becomes, as we go back up to my maniacal plan here and make it so we can see it, how do I assemble it? Alright, so a good chunk of the work is done in terms of getting the panels ready, but now how do I want to physically assemble it so A, I can handle it here on the workbench, get it over to the layout, and then get it together. Because I say, it's 63 inches from one end to the other. I can't even fit that all on my bench. So I don't know. That's for the next video. I don't know. I think I can build the entire high bay. We'll be fine. I can build it right here at the bench. That's only about 21 inches total by about a foot. So I can handle that here. That big back one, I'm not sure yet. And how am I going to do the roof, and how am I going to have any interior details anywhere? Thinking more over on the office side, maybe some interior details, lighting, a lot to think about. But at least I'm to the point after about 2 weeks or so, give or take. Yeah, let's round it up to 2 weeks. But all the panels are ready, so now I can dig in and actually start building this thing, and hopefully I can get it squared and get it together and nice and sturdy, and I can handle it. So, all right, we'll end this part, and then we'll move on. The next video will be the assembly of the various buildings. All right, whew. More to come, folks, as we keep plugging away here. Like I said, we're eating the elephant. We're getting there. We're not full yet. More to eat, but hey, let's keep digging into it. Having some fun here. So, all right, more to come, guys.